Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you happen to be watching this. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I want to use the Kent Myers presentation that occurred in Marion Auditorium last week, Wednesday, and discuss his concept of creativity and explain how many of the things he said and how he constructed his discussion can be used to make a definition essay. And I think that this might be very helpful because creativity, like happiness, like integrity, like empathy, is a word that is subject to a wide range of definitions, a wide range of connotations. And so I hope that this little presentation gives you ideas about working with the vague words you have for your assignment. Next, I also want to talk about the fact that what Kent Myers does best, I think, is make an argument and extend the definition throughout the argument. I hope that the other presentation uh, on the comic books helped by starting with the formal definition, which is what your assignment asks for. This presentation did not start with a formal definition, but I believe that it made such a valid argument and it used elements that I'm asking you to use as as Kent Myers went through this. And so I hope taking some of what he said about creativity helps you see how you can construct your own definition essay. Let's begin with this idea that he had a very, very strong thesis. Imagination and creativity differ. He argues that creativity is complex, it involves the material world, and with the material world, it involves tool use and knowledge of what has come before. That's a negative definition. Imagination is not creativity, or creativity is not imagination. Those two things differ. That becomes the thesis. It is a negative definition, however. And then he offers some of the operational definitions. It has to have the material world. It has to have tool use. It has to have knowledge. And again, he's just adding on to his thesis that creativity is far more complex than imagination. So the definitions, in some ways, become part of the thesis and they get layered on each other. The negative and the operational get layered on each other. And then they're extended. In an operational way, he takes another negative and builds on it. We've all, I think, been taught that creativity requires having everything planned out. That if you're sculpting something, you have to see the finished product. If you're writing something, you have to know where it's going to end up. Myers says that that's not true. So he's saying creativity is not what you think it is, it's something else, it's a negative definition. Then he goes into the operational phase. You are creative when you begin your work without knowing where you end up. And further, the act of beginning the work, the act of continuing the work without knowing where you're going to end up, will eventually tell you what you are doing, will eventually create, for lack of a better verb, the creativity. So the negative, it's not this, is then once again layered with an operational. It is this when you do it this way, the act of doing And continuing that gets you his definition of creativity, which is not imagination and not knowing where you're going to end up. He also challenges some prevailing orthodoxy. And I think he does that in a couple of ways. And these slides are, there's a skip or two between his next point about ideas. But your whole definition should challenge prevailing orthodoxy. One element of it, perhaps the whole essay, the whole definition should challenge the prevailing orthodoxy. It should change the way we view, in this case, the word idea, and it should change the way we view the word creativity, the way we view the word happiness, style, empathy, whatever those words are for your assignment. A lot of people will tell you your first idea is your best idea. You've probably been told that if you're guessing on a test or a quiz, go with your first guess. He says, hold it. Our first ideas are not our best ideas. And that's why we need to use my definition of creativity to deal with the work itself to get to the best ideas. And as a way of creating a synonym, our best ideas are creative. He extends his little new definition and leads it to the purpose of the essay, the purpose of solving everything. We stumble onto something. When we connect two unrelated things, we stumble onto something. In fact, the connecting of two unrelated things or two previously unrelated things is often the result of stumbling onto something. We're operationally being creative. We're talking about the conditions that lead up to something. But he's saying this is what makes it important. This is why my definition is powerful. This is why my definition is useful, because now I can recognize stumbling onto something, the connecting of two ideas, two previously unrelated thoughts, items as a new idea. All of that is now part of my definition and part of my creativity. And again, he has to define another word. He has to define idea. The idea is connecting two things that are previously unconnected. He's fitting it into his operational definition. He's fitting everything together into a tight frame. So, as he's going through this thing, he is making sure that not only is he sticking to the thesis that creativity and imagination are different, he is making sure that when he is using a word, the word fits into the operational definition that he is extending throughout, that it fits into the negative definitions. He is excluding things that don't fit into his definition, and he is going through and saying, mine's better, here's why. And finally, he's got some analysis that fits the operational definition. He says to be creative, and to be creative in my way, you have to be steeped in the field. This is a part, and that part is writing, that part is reading. You have to know the field of literature in order to write literature. Also, you have to ask questions of the work you are putting on, of the material you are dealing with, and that work will tell you what to do. So ask the question why. I hope this helps at 3 or 4 levels. Level 1, extend the definition as much as you possibly can. Number 2, have your thesis and follow that thesis throughout. Number 3, you will notice that there were bits of analysis, there was a little bit of negative definition, and an operational definition. For the purposes of this assignment, a formal definition of creativity at the start of, in the middle of the first paragraph or something, and then saying it's not this, it is rather this, would have made the assignment work. Also, I think it's just important to remember that sometimes you have to take a word like idea and also define that. You may have to define 2 words or 3 words to get to your definition of happiness, to get to your definition of style, to get to your definition of empathy or integrity or any of the other words. In the end, all of the parts fit together. Unlike the little picture on the screen, all of the parts fit together. I hope this was somewhat helpful to deal with the argument aspect and the extension aspect of writing the definition essay. Hope everyone has a good day. If you have questions, please talk to me in class.